you assist the patient to the ground?
He's on the 30-yard line. Goal!
Because our world runs on digital, technology foundations are essential. You might not always see them, but you always feel them. They power modern society, from the everyday to the mission critical. They help you shape and build a future that thrives for everyone. They enhance employees' experience anytime, anywhere, for a better work-life balance. They make you live the show and be part of the big scene. We are Atos, 52,000 strong. And we know that when progress meets purpose, tomorrow will always be thriving. Atos, advancing what matters.
As CEO of UKI, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this inaugural Atos Digital Forum. Thank you for joining us today. Again, very big thank you. It's a long time that we didn't get that type of event, so it's fantastic to see customers, it's fantastic to see people back to the office, so it's a great, great pleasure. This is your day as much as it is our days. So I trust you will engage in real discussion, debates, because not everything is written. It's all about us, you, working together and shaping the future of your organization with all the partnering that we are managing. You will see a panelist and the best one in the world, aside to Atos, working together. Before handing over to the panelists, because I know that you all have impatience to see what's happening in that world, what can you get from all the partners from Atos, I would like to say a few words about Atos first, and the new Atos, because Atos is moving fast, a lot of movement as we speak, and the good point is that we are moving in the right directions. So the first one is all about the focus and starting with the portfolio. We have reshaped our strategy, we have reshaped our go-to-market in order to sustain the customer needs, the market trend, and we are in a good shape now focusing on 3 main domains. So the first one is all about data management, data security, data protection, with our hybrid cloud and infrastructure, organization, our business, as well as our digital platform. So that's the first key topics on which we are investing massively and on which we are gaining market shares almost every day. The second one is all about enforcing our leadership in delivering experience in our digital workplace services and business. We have been leading this portfolio for ages. You will see that later on in the slide. But it's a key one that we continue to invest, we continue to innovate, and that we can go to the next stage all together. The third one is all about getting things done through our technology and professional services business. So it's all about time and material and how can we support you moving forward for specific needs, specific expertise that we've got in Atos. So that's the 3 core portfolio items we are investing, we are focusing, and on which we are leader in the world. There is a specificity, or I would say UKI is a special animal in the sense that we've got BPO business as well in UKI. It's not part of our core portfolio that we want to invest, but we'll continue to invest in UK around BPO by continuing the contract that we've got, but also investing and gaining new market shares on BPO stuff. So portfolio-wise, the direction, the strategy is very clear. We have been starting working and transforming our portfolio 2 to 3 years ago, and we are now in a good shape in order to move forward. We also believe that focus is enhanced by proximity. Proximity meaning to Atos that we have defined a new geographic areas. So we've got 7 geo today within Atos, and this is helping us as well to get more proximity to our customers, and we can better manage the local dynamics that is shaping the economy, the society, as well as the politics. So UKI is one of the regions, so it's good. We've got a full autonomy, and by full autonomy, it means that we can invest in what makes sense for the market, for our customers, what makes sense for Atos as well. And we've got investment that will support all the strategy that we are defining at the management level. It means as well that Atos is still in a position to deliver international opportunities, international customers, because we are still present in 70 countries, which is quite unique as an asset. And from those 70 countries, you can get exactly the same services, exactly the same portfolio. So it's, again, a value add looking at it. Atos, we are passionate about the environment and diversity. I will show you as well what we did in that space. Together with our absolute focus, our local proximity and anticipation, we lead the market delivering decarbonized services and outcomes that truly advance what matters. So it's a key one. We have been working on it for ages, again, 2 to 3 years. We have been pioneered managing that, and today it's given the fruit, and we are in very good position delivering this. Experience. What I'm talking about, it's all about experience, personal experience, company experience, society experience. And experience is in the eyes of the beholder. It means that different things to different people. It means that experience is starting at home. I don't know if you got a chance to talk. I'm pretty sure you are talking to your kids, to your family. The way they are seeing the world is completely different from the way I see it, at least. I'm not telling you it's wrong, right? It's a different view. Sometimes we've got some argumentation, but it's funny the way we are moving forward all together as an organization, and that's probably why we are so rich at the world, at the global level, at the worldwide level, having that kind of debate, and it's helping us to move into the right directions. That's why our commitment to delivering a consistent and positive experience for all employees has never wavered. If you go to the next slide, please. So we have been recognized the last year or this year, at least in 3 key domains. The first one is all about best workplace for women. So it's a great achievement that we did in Atos, as diversity is key, and we are managing that. We want to push even more at the group level and at the local level. So I will work with my management team in order to even be better in that space. It's all about equity at the end. So we have been rewarded as well as best workplace in tech, and all of this is all about as well the certification that we are trying to achieve, hopefully by this year, around the great place to work. So we are working on it as a group, as an organization, towards our employees, towards the diversity that we can get and the gender equality. So great movement in that space, and everything is all about what we want to achieve as an organization. Today, I'd like to pull back the curtain and share a few of our accomplishments over the years. If you go to the next slide, please. So what have we achieved, well, for a long time? If you look to the bottom line, so great achievement as 7 years in a row, we have been rewarded by Gartner as the outsourced digital workplace services. 7 years in a row, consecutive years. So that's a fantastic achievement, thanks to the global portfolio and thanks to you as customer, because it's all about the testimony that you gave to Gartner, helping us to be positioned at that level. So great achievement. If you look at AEG, Evezent, Nelson Hall, Everest Group, we have been rewarded as well as the best digital service desk and the best workplace services in the world for the last 2 years or the last 3 years. So long partnership, we have been investing for a long time in that space, and we'll continue to invest as it's key, and it's part of our growth engine that we want to manage. So what does it mean for me, and what does it mean for us, for Atos? I have to say that I'm proud to be part of Atos Group. I am proud to be part of UKI organization. I am proud to be close to this management team, helping me, helping us, helping you, moving to the next step. And you can be convinced, and you can be convinced that we'll support you in any transformation that you've got, in any project that you've got, as I believe we've got the right ecosystem in place today in Atos in order to support you. So I would like to hand over to Nick, and I free up all my afternoon. So in case you've got questions about Atos, about portfolio, about strategy, I am at your disposal. Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
Oh, okay. With my own hands all this time. Okay, so let me just add my welcome to that of Ben's and Fred's. So thank you very much for being here with us today. Thank you very much for investing in us here today. Before I go forward, I want to thank Ben. Because when Ben said, would you, Nick, come and join us and help us with this introduction and run the panel? I said, yeah, sure, Ben, that's fine. But don't do it after lunch and don't do it before the coffee break. That's called the graveyard shift. What time have we got, Ben? It's 1:30, everyone's had lunch. Please stay awake. So folks, once again, thank you very much. Really appreciate your investment. I want to start with our ambition for this session. Our ambition for today is really to have some thought-provoking dialogue. It's to build a network amongst all of us, and it's to come out of here feeling that our horizons are broadened. We know a little bit more, and we're part of a community that can make a difference in the world. This is not about necessarily trying to sell you something at the end of it. Our ambition goes further, though. Our ambition is, I want to start a flame, I want to start a spark in each of you in terms of the excitement of this kind of session, of what we can achieve together when we put our collective into what the future could be. Changing the world 1 kilowatt hour at a time and enhancing experience, whatever experience might be, to individuals on the ground. So as a simple thing, if half of you are here in a year's time, forming part of this panel, feeding into these speeches, helping us design the next event, that would be a win for me. That would be a win for us. That would feel like success as we cut forward in the future. Before we go forward, though, I'm going to give you 4 numbers. I'm going to ask you to remember them. You can't write them down. And I'm going to test you at the end. And those who get it right quickly get lunch with Ben. So 16 million, 4,000, 1,000, and 6. 4 numbers. 16 million, you're writing it down, 4,000, 1,000, and 6. We'll come back to that. So, let's do the setup. So, I would normally say, and I said it 2 or 3 times, I'm thrilled to have you here today. And I say that as a setup because a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this was an impossibility. A year ago, dare I say it, feels like another time. Today we have, 100 people in this room. That really, I suspect a year ago would have been 20 people and we'd all been distanced around the room. Face-to-face events are now really, really hard to set up. We have all got used to not doing these sorts of things. We've all got used to not traveling. We have all, 3 years after COVID, we've all moved into a completely different world of hybrid working. And hybrid working means an entirely different thing to all of us. For me, I used to do 5 days a week, 10 hours a day in the office. I'm the first person to get in, I'm the last person to leave.
Not anymore.
But the boss said it. 5 days a week. But now, I'm really lucky. I get to pick and choose when Fred's not in England. I get to work from home once or twice a week. I get to take my children to school once or twice a week. I get to have coffee with my wife on a Friday afternoon. That's phenomenal. That richness, that choice I now have, which is unique to me, on the basis I can still deliver my job, my outcome, look after my team, is a game changer to me. I wouldn't have been able to do that pre-COVID. Do I thank COVID? Not sure I do. So hybrid working has changed the norm. In fact, it's become the norm. But I'm not sure any one of us can define what hybrid working truly is. I think it's still evolving. Companies, I think Ben and I were talking about this morning, led by the big US tech companies, have been trying to pull people back to the office. Is that a good thing? I don't know the answer. But ask yourself a couple of questions. If I ask you to travel to work 5 days a week, is that good for the environment? Definitely not. If I ask you to travel to work 5 days a week, is it good for you? Come back to my example. It's not good for me. When I'm working 10 hours a day. If I'm traveling, I might be in another country. So for me to be able to pick and choose when I work and not be forced, Fred, hint, not be forced to come into the office 5 days a week, that's an important work-life balance for me. It's an important employment perk. In fact, employment norm as we cut forward. Ask yourself a different question. Is it right that I stop you coming into the office? Because we want to save on real estate. Because we want to cut down the cost of travel. To my younger employees, it's abhorrent. To individuals in their 20s and dare I say it, 30s, who haven't got a network, who haven't got a background, who haven't gone up the social or economic or work ladder, being face-to-face, collaborating, working in the room, impressing us, impressing each other, building that network is a vital part of their life.
It's a vital part of their enjoyment. So how do you balance that? Genuinely, it's a conundrum. By the way, none of us have the answer yet. So I'm not looking to give you the answer. But it comes to talent acquisition. Because for the first time in my career as a leader, I'm no longer in charge of who I pick. It's the employee who I'm interviewing is deciding me. Okay? Now, there was always a bit of that, but it's now forefront. They pick us based on our social values. Do we meet their views of what it is to be a sustainable organization? Are we ethically and sustainably set up for them to be proud to be associated with us as a brand and a company? So, and by the way, that's not an age thing. That permeates across everyone I interview, from someone in 18, 19, 20 coming in as an intern, through to someone who might be joining in their 60s. It really has got nothing to do with age. So these challenges, and more, are the subject of our panel that we'll come to in pretty short order. Fred touched upon how Atos is changing, and I won't go back through our portfolio. But what I would say, and the key point to it is, I don't know if you're tabbing us there, smashed it, is that we are now focusing, as Fred said, on 3 or 4 things. Now, it's 3, but you probably expand it out to 4. And we deliver those things really, really well. If we go back a year and a half, it wasn't 4, 28, with probably 800 sub-products, incredibly complex, not wildly focused. And in fact, we didn't even have a digital workplace business line. We spread it across 23 different practices. Today, we're focused. It's a third of our business. It's a P&L globally in its own right. We run this company across those 3 business lines as we go forward. So the way I want you to think of us, and I think Fred said it, is we're the data people. Wherever your data is, we'll secure it, we'll optimize it, we'll manage it, and we'll present it the way you want it to have it presented. And we'll put the intelligent network and the private and the hybrid and the edge systems in place to make sure your data networks and traffic's where it needs to get to. We're the experienced people. Experienced people. We're the people that deliver sustainable, circular, digital workplace solutions. And we are uniquely good at that. It might be a first mover advantage, so we have to keep upping our game. We have to keep changing and evolving what we do, but it is different for us. As Fred said, we help customers get things done. And that's all about, that's not a scale play, just so we're clear. That's not 50,000 people in India. That could be 10 or 100 people local. It's all about proximity and about onshore and secure, helping you get things done. And then there's our, what I call advancing what matters people, okay? That is our business platforms, which comes out of our hybrid cloud and infrastructure business, which is all about combining the power of AI and connected platforms and analytics and what we do for the likes of the Olympics and our major events platform to deliver our next generation services. So they're not quite there today, but they're the future of where we as a company, and hopefully you as a set of customers and partners, need us to be as we go forward. So that's it. 3 or 4 things as you see it. We do it really, really well. So why would you pick Atos? In a general term, most of our customers stay with us, and some of you in this room, 10 to 15 years. Globally, our customer base stays with us for 10. In the UK, we're really lucky. We have an average customer tenure of about 14 to 15 years. And we're privileged, we're lucky. We have to earn that right day in, day out. But there are broadly 3 reasons why our customers pick us and stay with us. So number 1 is we're engineers. And we're uniquely in that engineering space. We're systems integrators. There aren't many other companies, if any, that can turn around and say they have 50,000 engineers who can do systems integration across the IT continuum. Everything from a, Z9 mainframe through to edge and hybrid cloud computing. Right? We do it all because we have that ability across the continuum, number 1. Number 2, it's our focus on the customer's customer. So each of you as our customer or potential customer or partner would expect us to hit the requirement. That's table stakes. But we like to try and go a bit further. What makes us a little bit special in our relationships with our customers is that we try and imagine what, by delivering our service, does to the end customer, their customer, your customer, or the citizen. So by delivering this on a factory floor, what does it mean for your customer's customer? on the plane, on the train, in the office, whatever your persona might be. We try and go beyond. And then third, sustainability and leveraging tech for good. We are the greenest IT company, and in the UK we now need to demonstrate it, I think, Jason, so we have to, on an audited government level, we have to prove it, so it's not just a thing we say. But we are the greenest IT company, IT services company in the world at present. And that's a first mover advantage, and we need to keep pushing it because it's our passion. It's what brings us to work every single day. What brings the 52,000 people that make Atos together is we are diverse, we are open-minded, and we have a raison d'etre, which is around bringing better IT to the world around us. So, customers. I talked about the relationship and the fact that building enduring relationships is pivotal to us. But our customers make us who we are. They are our foundation. So tell me, I gave you 4 numbers. Non-Atos people, 4 numbers. Anyone care to shout out 1, 2, or 3, or 4 of those numbers? 16 million. 1,006. Very good. Lunch with Ben tomorrow. 12:30. Ben, you're paying? 4 seasons. Okay, so let me bring it to life. Let me bring what I mean by we are defined by our customers to life. 16 million. 16 million is the number of customers, number of pension customers that Aviva has in the UK. 16 million. Every single month, the systems that we host, secure, and manage make sure that 16 million pensioners and pre-pensioners are paid their money every single month. That's 1/8 of the pension market. It's considered a service of critical national importance by the UK government, because if you don't make those payments, you could have a liquidity issue. 16 million. 4,000? 4,000, just checking. 4,000 is the number of sites across Scotland that for Scottish Water that we connect with our WAN and LAN service and our IoT service, which is in addition to our next generation digital workplace service. The reason that's important is we're able to help Scottish Water determine where they have low pressure, water leaks, or pre-maintenance issues, i.e. where something might need to be fixed before it becomes a leak or otherwise. We connect 4,000 sites for them across the geography. 1,000? Was it 1,000? 1,000 is the number of trees that we planted in one sitting with our customer, the Ministry of Justice. I think it was 2022, Colin? I think it was last year. So we planted 1,000 trees in one sitting with our customer. Why? Because in that digital workplace engagement, we have a contractual commitment to, 1, track the carbon cost of change, which we do with our partners NextThink, carbon cost of every single change. And at the end of each year, we tally that, and we have another commitment, which is we then help them offset it. So we repair the environment for every single cost of change that is created through that engagement that we can track through our business logic and automation tool with our partners NextThink. 6. 6? Anyone care to guess what 6 is? It's a shoot in the barrel. 6 milliseconds. 6 milliseconds is the maximum amount of time we're allowed to send a single score around the world in every single event of the Olympics to every single country. 6 milliseconds. Can anyone tell me why it has to be done faster than 6 milliseconds? And an Atos employee can put their hand up if they want to.
Better.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So typically speaking, there's a window between about 5.9 milliseconds and 8 milliseconds where you get an information advantage. An information advantage where you've seen an outcome because you're in the stadia or you have a better link, but the rest of the world haven't. And you can use, not AI, you can use human beings, because 8 milliseconds is fast enough, for you to trade off that, to arbitrage that advantage and make money. That's not all we do for the Olympics, by the way, but I like it as an example of how we help our customers. So like our customers, our partners help us define who we are too. In fact, we are equally nothing without our partners. Because in Atos, we don't want to be all things to all people. We want to take the best IP, product, services, and partners around the world and stitch together that rich ecosystem to deliver seamless outcomes for our customers. So I'm going to introduce some of those customers to partners, potentially customers, to you today. So Dell, Elena, are you in the room? Elena, do you want to stand up? Just say hi to the group for me. So together with Dell, we deployed 70,000 devices to a global manufacturing company within the last year and a half, I think 2 years, to help 70,000 people work remotely. And we did that pretty damn quickly, I think. ServiceNow, Simon? So ServiceNow, we streamlined the experience for NHS blood and transplant. And we managed to take out 650 hours, I'm looking at Colin and Stuart, 650 hours in the first year, which is equivalent to 4 weeks. So think about that as a critical service that saves lives. And we extracted a month worth of effort that they could then use to give back to whatever they need to do on a daily basis. Nextthink, Steve? Very good. So Nextthink, really important partner of ours, and they've helped us develop our digital employee experience first. So everything we now do in digital workplace, we do with employee experience first. And we can only do that with a business logic and automation tool with Nextthink. Microsoft and Guy. Very good. We've been working together, I think, 20 years, not you and I. Could have been. And recently, we've transformed or helped transform NHS Solent's telecom system, and we now provide them with a fully integrated, cloud-based Teams platform. Okay? But I think we also provide and manage all of your exec briefing centers around the world, I want to say. But I might be stretching that one a little bit. Circular computing. So Conrad and Steve, we teamed up with Circular Computing to offer our clients damn near carbon neutral remanufactured laptops. To put it in perspective, you and I were talking earlier, you can deliver me a remanufactured laptop that looks as good as new, and Pepsi test later on, for 6.4% of the carbon output compared to a new one. Right, so, and just to be clear, you're not a competitor of Dell. These things work together. And then, they do. And then finally, Velocity. So Anthony and Lewis over there, everyone right at the back. So Velocity are demonstrating their smart lockers, I would say in the breakout area. Let's call that the breakout area. We have deployed these successfully amongst just loads of our customers. I suspect most of you have got one, but to name a few, Northrop, Scottish Water, National Grid, Otis, and many, many more. So with that, I'm about 5 minutes late, but let's catch up. So we're going to do the panel now, and I'm going to ask my 4 panelists to come and take a seat. Okay, so very good. So before I ask my panelists to introduce themselves, thanks Ben, I just want to make it really clear that this has been a bit one-way traffic for the last 40 minutes. That now needs to change. So you are now part of this panel. You might not be sitting here, but it means you're welcome to put your hand up and ask a question. Dare I say, you're welcome to shout out a question if you feel really passionate. You're okay to heckle, as long as it's a partner and not Atos. So Melanie and I will be agreement. If you start throwing things, I'll probably start calling it quits. But this is our time together, so let's make this a truly collaborative event. To get us going, though, I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with yourself, Simon.
Well, good afternoon. Really happy to be here with you all. My name's Simon Morris. I lead solution consulting for ServiceNow in the UK and Ireland. Is this on, Nick? Yeah. It's perfect. We're very proud of our relationship with Atos. We have an amazing platform. It's the intelligent platform for end-to-end digital transformation. We can help customers modernise their experience, find the efficiencies, and then use that efficiency for new ways of creating value for their customers. But it's never about the tool. It's about the skills and the expertise and the global reach to help our customers realise that benefit of digital transformation. So that really is Atos, working with our customers, helping them achieve the potential of transformation. And I'm really interested in this topic of the future of the workspace. I think it's a shift in landscape. There are different dynamics to do with economy, to do with technology, to do with society. It's a very fast-moving topic. But more than anything, it's where you go to work. It's part of your work engagement. I think it's a really important part for us all. So happy to be here.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take us to Simon now to introduce yourself. Sorry, Guy.
Thanks, Nick. Guy Gregory. I'm the partner technology strategist at Microsoft, working with Atos, and I'm incredibly proud of the relationship that we have with Atos as one of our global strategic partners. As Nick mentioned, we've had a partnership that goes back 20 years. I've only been just working with Atos for about 2 months, but I've been incredibly impressed by the maturity and the breadth and the modern solution that they have in this digital workplace space. And I was joking with Melanie earlier that you've brought me up here as an expert on generative AI. Atos are actually one of the few partners that we have who are on our early access program for Microsoft 365 Copilot, and they are using these features in preview. I don't even have these features yet, so we're relying on our partners like Atos to help our customers with this digital transformation.
Thank you very much. And over to Steve.
Hi everybody, pleasure to meet you all. Steve Little, I'm the Vice President of our Global Partnerships at NextThink. Been with NextThink for 11 years. And 6 years ago, I started the partnership with Atos. So it's been a very productive partnership. You are the #1 global partner for NextThink, which is a great achievement. And the important thing and what we did with Atos is you embedded it into your digital workplace services. So you provide a proactive user experience center, and that's what really drives our technology to give you improved user experience and productivity across your customers. So it's very exciting times.
Thank you very much. Steve, thank you. And then last but not least, Melanie.
Hi everybody, Mélanie de Vigan. So I work in the digital workplace business line in Atos, where I'm leading the portfolio and pre-sales. First, I want to say it's pretty nice to be there and to hear so many good things about Atos, like, oh, cool, we're good. But I've been working more than 20 years in Atos, but around 6 years or so in digital workplace. And for me, it's really a passion, because I am really convinced that with the workplace, we can help people work differently. We can have an impact on the business. All our tagline and motto, I don't know if you saw it on the slide before, is about this concept of liberating people potential. We do believe that with the workplace, we can liberate the potential of the people. We can get them to do more. And really looking into the session today. And back to what Nick was saying, in my role and looking at where we're going tomorrow, where I learn the most is by talking with all my clients. So please come to us and ask questions, because this is also how we're maturing our portfolio and moving to the next steps.
Hey, thank you very much. So I meant what I said. You can jump in, ask questions, throw things, hands up, stand up, whatever works for you. Maybe not throw things. So I'm going to start with a question for Guy and Microsoft. Let me set it up like this. So Microsoft is investing big in AI. So you spent $10 billion this year with ChatGPT, and you're embedding that, as you mentioned earlier, into your Office 365 suite. You've been a pioneer of the digital workplace environment since digital workplace was a thing. Okay, so there we go. So let me ask you this broad question, and then we'll bring it in. So to what extent do you see, Guy, AI and automation transforming the workplace, collaboration and productivity, and which specific products or features within Copilot do you believe is going to make the greatest impact?
Thank you. Yeah, it's absolutely right. We've made a huge strategic investment in generative AI, and particularly in our partnership with OpenAI as the exclusive partner for their AI models. Some people might think this is a relatively new development, but actually we've had this partnership with OpenAI now for 3 years, and we started integrating their AI models into our technology 2.5 years ago. We started, and I think the world really woke up to the possibilities of generative AI when OpenAI released ChatGPT last year, and we're incredibly proud that. Essentially, Azure not only hosts the infrastructure for OpenAI and ChatGPT, but we also helped them to train the AI models that they're running for ChatGPT, and also we are now deploying throughout our whole product range in the form of this Copilot experience that you mentioned. And when we think about that kind of Copilot experience, we're really trying to unlock the potential of the human at the wheel. Obviously, Copilot implies that you have a pilot, and what we're trying to do really is to augment that human capability to unlock greater creativity, greater productivity, and also to make that person's job much more joyful as well, and to remove some of the drudgery from their work. You will probably see Copilot experiences rolling out through our technology. In fact, just yesterday, we released a new version of Windows that includes Microsoft Copilot integrated into Windows. And in November, we're incredibly excited to be launching Microsoft 365 Copilot along with our fantastic partners, Atos, to our enterprise customers in November. So it's a fantastic opportunity. We see generative AI as transformative across many industries. And when I think about the use cases that I've personally been using, I think the three areas that I've seen personally greatest success. Number one, I personally use our GitHub Copilot in order to code more productively. I'm what I perhaps describe as an amateur enthusiastic programmer. I volunteer at our local school to help teach Python. I'm not a developer, but I use GitHub Copilot to be able to code more productively. Then there's also the productivity aspect. So using Copilot to help me to write emails and also to unlock more of a conversational interface if I want to work through a particular problem. So a good example, last week I did a presentation to some Microsoft apprentices. I'm not a speechwriter. I have no qualifications in writing speeches, but I asked the Bing Chat Enterprise to be my speech writing assistant for me and to help me to write that speech. And so using it in that way, I think is incredibly empowering. And then the final piece, so that productivity piece. And again, I'm actually looking forward to getting my hands on the Copilot experience when we got it. And fantastic to see Atos
we can sell you a license or two.
Thank you.
Can I ask, has anyone used ChatGPT in the audience? A lot of enthusiasts. Anyone use Copilot? All right, a couple of enthusiasts. Seb, I knew you were using Copilot. So I'm going to be controversial. So I don't see Copilot as a Copilot. I see it as an autopilot. And what I mean by that is I equate it to the days when you had 3 people at the front of an aeroplane. You put electronics and computers in the aeroplane. You still need 2 people. You might lose 1, but you still need 2. And those humans need to provide the context of, are all the instruments working? Is that really a ground proximity warning? Are the pitons firing or misfiring? So I think we all are going to use it and adapt it in different ways. But I'm interested to get your view of that almost universality of it, easy for me to say, of it as a genuine Copilot, and how you see it impacting employees at large. And this is a hot topic. So if I think about Octopus, who announced they had not displaced, I think they're keeping the employees, but affected 250 people whose jobs are effectively now being done by AI and generative AI. So just want to get your view on that Copilot to autopilot and the impact on jobs and people at large.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's important that we start having this dialogue as well, because this field is very dynamic, and I wouldn't say we would claim to have all the answers to some of these questions yet. When we think about the Copilot technology that we're developing, it really is designed with the user as the front and center, and we're not, our goal is not to replace that person, it's to make that person more productive. Now, of course, when you're making those sort of changes and you're rolling out such a disruptive technology, of course, there will be situations where the landscape of a particular industry or a particular workforce will change. But I think as well as some jobs being reduced, we're also creating new jobs as well. So, the job of a prompt engineer, that didn't exist this time last year. But of course, one thing that's really important is to make sure that the users are very well trained and understand how to create a prompt in order to get the most out of the technology. And I think, it's the human part of the solution, the change management, the user adoption, and the governance where we see our strategic partners like Atos really helping out with the holistic solution.
Okay. Guy, thank you. So just a couple of quotes for our panel. So I read that the Octopus founder, who's talking about the 44% displacement of customer emails now being done by AI and automation, he declared it like a freight train. The impact on business and industry will be like a freight train hitting it. BT, I think, announced, anyone from BT here? I think BT announced, hello. So your organization announced that you could see a 10,000 person reduction based on advanced AI in many years to come. So a significant impact going forward. And I also read overnight of a judge who did a sum up in court using generative AI to take a version of the law and give him an extrapolation of how to utilize it, which I think is phenomenal. I don't think you ever take the job of a doctor away, but you might be able to help diagnose quicker if he or she had a co-pilot to help them really spot the nub of the issue.
And absolutely, in the context of a doctor's surgery, when we've been working closely with some of our healthcare partners to help support the doctors, because they can use generative AI to transcribe and automatically summarize the patient meetings that they've had, because we want to free up the doctor's time to actually spend that time with the patient rather than spending time doing admin and trying to transcribe notes.
Okay, thank you, Guy. So if we use that link to come to yourself, Simon, so ServiceNow is well known for its digital workflow and automation solutions. How do you see the future of Gen AI in the context of service delivery? And what should businesses prepare for in coming years?
Great question, Nick. So you mentioned there service delivery. I like to think also about the service relationship and the service experience. Now, service relationship, because we have to remember at the heart of this are people. It's about someone that has a need and someone that can solve that other person's problem. They have a relationship facilitated through technology often, but people are at the heart of this. And also we talk about service experience because every time you go to a service provider, be it IT or other functions of the business or outside of the business at home, it's an experience because you're left feeling something. Hopefully you're left feeling fulfilled, you've got what you wanted, but you might feel disappointed or angry, or maybe you'll feel a moment of delight because it went much better than you ever expected. And these service relationships, these experiences exist all over an organisation. It's not just an IT problem. This is a relationship between an employee and many different functions of the business, servicing our colleagues, servicing our partners, and of course, servicing our customers as well. And if you think about service delivery, we should really think about how work flows in an organisation. And for work to flow, we have to think of three imperatives: the velocity of work, the intelligence of work, and the experience of work. Can we make it work faster? Can we increase the velocity? And if we can drive down the error rate and drive down the processing time. We can drive up the value. When we talk about intelligence, it's around decision making. And experience, let me experience the service on my terms. Think about the traditional way we provision service. We have a form on a web portal, and it takes you 30 seconds to log in, and another minute to find what you're looking for. And then you have a form, and in your moment of need, you fill out the form and you hit submit. And then as the person in need, you wait. You wait for the IT department to say, and now I'm ready to come back to you. What a lopsided power relationship. I'm the person in need, the business user. I have a need to be served, and I'm left waiting for the IT department or any service domain to come back to me. So you ask, what is the impact of Gen AI? I think it's going to transform all of that. It's going to transform the moment the issue is recognised and registered. It's going to transform how we deliver the service, how the agent will fulfill that need of the user. And for service managers and executives, it's going to be very different as well. At the point of consumption, we're looking to solve the issue as quickly as possible. And then agents powered by generative AI is going to have all of the context of the user. It's going to know what you tried before, and it can deliver a really personalized service with no human interaction, the infinite scale that AI can give you, the cost reduction of shifting left and driving the work towards an agent. So the requester, whether you are looking for something you haven't got, or you're looking for an answer for a problem, or you just need some help, it's going to transform the requesting experience, more personalized and more language-driven, a more natural language.
Simon, really helpful. You've literally stolen my next 3 questions from me, which is helpful. But it is helpful. So let me, if it's okay, I'm gonna move us on and then circle back to you. You mentioned a number of personas. You mentioned the requester. Somewhere in there, there's probably an agent. Now, whether that's a robotic agent or a human agent. And then you've got the exec, the bill pair, and so on. And I want to use that link to come to Steve from NextThink. And I'm going to quote our friends from Forrester, and I think we've got a member of the Forrester team in the room. So understand the mind, get a measurement, and automate the mundane. So, Steve, you specialize in digital workplace solutions. Can you give us some examples of some real use cases where your platform has made a significant impact on productivity, collaboration, or employee engagement?
Yeah, no problem. So first of all, I think I need to position what does our technology do, because not everybody in the room will understand what it is. So traditionally within IT, we've been very good at monitoring what we provision to our end users. We're very good at saying we've got a data center or a cloud environment, we've got a network, applications. But if you want to understand true user experience, you need to flip that on its head and actually monitor the consumption of those services. And that's what NextThink does. It sits on the device and collects hundreds of metrics in real time about the device, the performance of the device, the user that's connected to that device, what applications are they running, where are they connecting, and all of the issues that they see, that they're having on that device. So for our partners like Atos, what does that give them as a capability? It allows them to go truly proactive and go after improving user experience across their customer base. And when you improve user experience, you also increase user productivity because you reduce their downtime and therefore make them more productive. And we've got kind of many use cases for it, but there's 3 ways that we can really go out there and remediate issues or fix issues on the device. But the first thing you need to do is see those issues. And that's why when we have all of that data, it allows you to visualize how many users are having issues that are affecting their user experience and productivity. So once you see that, you then need to diagnose it. So again, NextThink provides a very easy way to visualize those issues and get to the root cause of what is the actual problem. This slow PC, it's actually because, the memory is maxed out on the device and this user has 42 tabs open in Chrome, which they don't realize eats all the memory on their device and it will run slow. So now that you've kind of diagnosed it, you can now build automation scripts or engagement campaigns to actually go and fix those issues or educate the users on a better way of working. And with Atos, we've been running thousands and thousands of automations across your customers. We have simple cases like, with Scottish Water, we have simple things like a password reset. It's so easy to think about somebody forgetting to update their password and suddenly then they're locked out and they can't work. Well, with NextThink, you do a pop-up dialog box where you actually educate that user that their password's about to expire, and then they can obviously send them to the link and they can update the password. You have accounts like SIAP, where you do a white glove approach for all the VIPs. So you take it to another level of making sure that this group of individuals have a higher level of response rate. So you make sure you're always being proactive with those users to give them the best possible service. But there's 3 ways that we automate today. So the first one is what we call assisted service. And that is where you have an L1 agent, so a service desk agent. And when they're on the phone to that user and they're talking about the issues that they're having on that device, they have the ability to press a button and fix that issue immediately on that device whilst they're on the call to the individual. And that's great. So that helps you reduce the time to resolve that issue for that particular user. The second one is self-help. So this is where we use our engage capability, which is it gives a pop-up dialog box on the device, which allows us to communicate to the user to say, you have problems on your device and we need you to take action, or we need your permission before we automate on your device. Let's say we need to clear up your system drive and we want to clear your temp folders because there isn't enough space. But we're not going to do it until you give us permission to do it. And then finally, the last one is self-heal. So this is where NextSync makes the decision, obviously controlled by Atos, not just free, do whatever we want. And basically, we go in there and we see an issue on the device, and within seconds, we fix it. And that's things often around compliance. So this is where, maybe the real-time protection has been turned off, or things like SCCM have fallen over and it needs to be restarted. They're the type of things that we can do immediately and solve those types of issues.
Very good. Steve, thank you. I'm going to move us to Melanie. So, because I'm conscious I really do want to open up the floor after we have one more question. So we're going to focus on employee experience, because all of this sounds great, but what I'm worried about is that human to AI balance, Melanie. So how can organizations strike that balance between human and AI involvement in delivering the modern workplace experience?
Yeah. I think Guy already touched a bit to that about the concept of augmenting the people and teaming up with AI, this type of concept. That maybe if you allow me, I'm going to share a few ideas to think about, just to trigger some thought about how do we want to balance human and AI. The first idea, it's really about the speed of change. I think, how organizations are used to very linear transformation. It's slow and steady. I mean, we were talking about mainframe, and we still have mainframe, and it's slow. Here, we're moving into a world where the speed of change is really becoming exponential. And our organization are not ready. We are not used to that, right? If you think about in natural life, where do you really experience this exponentiality, if that works in English? This is not really natural. I mean, yes, there is an example with COVID, but beyond COVID, think about what's exponential. It doesn't really exist. So for me, there is really the first thing, which is, it's not just Gen AI. It's about really the speed of the change and what is the role of the human, of the people, to adapt the organization for this constant change. Because right now it is Gen AI, but what is it going to be tomorrow? How is it going to frame? Which leads me to my second idea, which is really about, we do not know what AI is going to be capable of doing tomorrow. Or maybe you know, but I don't. We know. I mean, if I'm taking an example, a year ago, if I was presenting to customer talking about what AI can do or not do, and I would be asked, okay, can it do anything with creativity? Oh, of course not. AI is not about creativity. That's not what we expect from AI. We expect from AI to do more of the same. 6 months ago, ChatGPT was there. Maybe I started evolving a bit. I was like, okay, AI is good at generating content, so we can create content, but it cannot really create ideas. If you ask me today, I'm the opposite. I'm like, yeah, Gen AI is wonderful at creativity. So I don't know, again, who has been playing with ChatGPT or others, but ChatGPT is wonderful at generating ideas. If you start throwing some concept and some names to it and trying to link those concepts, it can really help you. So I was playing in the train this morning, just thinking about what I could say, and I was just throwing words like laptop and bike and books. And it started proposing some ideas, right? It's, yeah, you can create a business and where people have to use their bike to generate the laptop, because I think I put sustainability as well in the words. So this type of things, and maybe we would have had a brainstorming session at some point, and we could have spent hours, and maybe we would have come with such ideas. I'm sure we would have created great ideas. But here in 2 minutes, I had a list of ideas. Some were vanilla, it's like, okay, fine. Some were just crap. I think there was an idea about putting a book on the bike. But some were, I mean, interesting, right? And for me, it's really about, yeah, being ready to use the technology, the AI, whatever is coming in the good way. Because on the other side, GenAI is crap at business problem solving, solving a business problem. Because problem solving, it's prone to interpretation. It's not black and white, it's more gray, and you have to understand. And here, yeah, it can. There was, I think last week, a survey published by BCG showing that it can actually really hurt the productivity, the performance of people if they are using Gen AI for problem solving. They're actually losing time because they're trying to use it, but it's not done for that. And it's back to the question really about the people behind, and the role of IT is how do we train the people to really understand how to use the AI, but in a continuous way, because today is not what is going to be in a few months. So it means also all of you working in IT, all of us working in IT, it's also about, you know, seeking the signals to see what's coming next, so that when it's coming, we can be prepared. I have a third idea, but I'm done. No, I just want to add a third idea, but if we want to open question. I mean, just a third idea also I wanted to share, listening to what you were saying, Simon. I think also with Gen AI, so, you know, there is the top line and the bottom line. People are very much focused on the bottom line and how can we save cost. So I work in workplace. Many of you work in workplace. Of course, we're all looking at Gen AI for the end user support and how it's going to save cost. And yes, we have solution. And yes, it's going to save cost. I'm sure you know. But is it really going to transform your business and to have a huge impact? I'm not sure. I think what is going to have a real impact is when you look at the bottom line and really the business reinvention. And that's why I'm coming back to the workplace. Because if you want to go into this business reinvention, you need the people, you need to empower people with the tools and how to use the tool. And I was talking about liberating people potential. You have this word in English about caring for the people, which I think is very, very strong. If you want this to happen, you have to care for the people. You have to be willing to bring them what they need. And this is really where, I mean, you put back people at the center, as you were saying. You put back people at the center to really understand what they need and bring them all those tools and empower them to use them. And I'll finish with one example. Couple of years ago now, all this low-code, no-code platform started. And I've been talking to a lot of customers, and everybody was telling me, oh, that's not for my users. They're not digital enough, or they're not proficient enough. It's only going to be for the IT department. I think 6 months ago, Gartner made a study, and the number was 74 or 76% of users who had access to those were using it. They were creating automation, workflows type of things. So people are willing to do so. If we bring them the tools, they are willing to use them. If we bring them now generative AI, if we bring them Copilot, they're willing to use it and do the maximum of it. I mean, I know we tend to think when we're in IT that maybe they don't know enough, but they're really willing to do it.
Very good. So really helpful, really good sort of 20, 30 minutes. Open season. Any questions? Any questions for Copilot, for AI in process, for automation, or for the human element of all of this? You can ask anything. At the back.
First, I think it's a really great 30-minute conversation. I think I'm always amazed by this, that people talk about digital workplace. It's a bit like when we were talking about word processing replacing typewriters. It because we couldn't understand the macro myopia of what this big shift will be in the future. I'm interested, you picked on some points, what do you think really, if we talk about knowledge workers like us, what do you think the daily life will be different for a worker, say, in 5 years' time? What would be what things will be removed from their day-to-day? What do you think will be added to their day-to-day life that will enrich things?
Simon.
That's a great question. I love looking into the future like this. I think today we're responsible for the work that we have to do, and in 5 years' time, we'll be responsible for supervising agents that are doing that work for us. We won't be eliminating our jobs. We have that humanistic value and judgment-making process, but we'll be supervising a number of agents, perhaps multiplying our own potential and our own output, but supervising them to make sure the outputs we're realising for the business we believe are correct, and maybe more training of agents as well.
I think just one more point. I think it's interesting. The big thing's about doing more. I used to work in engineering consultancy. I used to say when you replace, we had this sort of software that could do like auto paths for buildings, how you did all your building window and stuff. I said, do you now manage to work with more customers because you've got a software tool that does it for you? We just do a better job than we used to do. And I think a lot of it's going to be about being able to produce better quality. And particularly, I think the other point you said is about, I think, removing subjective bias from lawyers, from teachers, from doctors, of where they may think they know what the symptom is, but by putting it to a chat GPT kind of thing, whereby it removes that subjective bias, I think that's where you're going to see massive quality gains as well.
Very good. Thank you for the question. Any other questions?
I think as a group of partners here with Atos, I think we've got some amazing capability and we can really accelerate. I guess just looking for some feedback from the panel in terms of what clients are saying, in terms of where we need to speed up, where we need to work better as partners. I guess addressing some of those bigger challenges that we're going to face in the near future.
Thank you. Maybe one for Steve? Is now.
Okay, dropped in there. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I mean, obviously, what we're trying to do with our partnership is really kind of advance what else can we do with the data that we collect. We are scratching the surface of what we can do with this type of data. If we get onto the question, we're going to talk about sustainability and what we can really do around sustainability. There's even talks about gamification, about letting the user make decisions around their score, their user experience, their green IT score. There's many things that we can do to advance how we work with our users going forward. And I think even when we're all talking about user experience, again, we're scratching the surface. We're newborns to user experience. And I think in 5 years' time, going back to the other question, it is going to be laser focused around how do we optimize the user experience of every single user in an organization and hence make them more productive to do their job.
Steve, thank you. I just want to touch on one thing, and then maybe I'll ask if there's one more question, and we'll move on to the second topic. Fred mentioned it in his introduction. Experience is in the eye of the beholder. So today, for me, experience is no experience, right? So I go into the office, it doesn't matter where the office is, I connect, I use my own device, I don't have a problem. That, for me, is an experience. For other people, for a factory worker, a shop worker, a floor worker, actually the experience of having something fixed seamlessly with little friction is more important. So I suspect we've all got our different views of what experience really is. Any more questions from the floor? Or any more suggestions or thoughts? Anything you disagree with? Yeah.
So, interested to see what everyone's view is on the first level service desk, which potentially we've got a fully trained Gen AI could replace that element. Is that where they think potentially one of the areas where you could not replace the service desk, but actually those questions would be dealt with by the AI?
Melanie, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, for sure, we're on this journey. The view is that Gen AI can do all the first level service desk, by default answering all the questions for the end user. Of course, there is also a part which is augmenting the service desk agent. I think the idea is to say 90% of all the contacts can be handled by some sort of AI. We will still have the complex problems that will come to a live agent. We will because we're doing it today already. We're augmenting the service desk agent, bringing him some knowledge, bringing him some recommendation about the next-based action and things like that. And also what is very important behind is all the concept of collective intelligence and swarming. As we move on this journey and we have more and more tickets, contacts solved by AI, what is really remaining is becoming very, very complex. And we have to bring the intelligence of the group. So we need to implement swarming to really be able to share and exchange between all the knowledge experts to come very quickly with a final answer.
Thank you, Melly. Guy, do you want to pick it up?
Yeah, thanks. I think a help desk or a service desk is one of those key scenarios for generative AI. I know that we're talking to ServiceNow about our own deployment of ServiceNow within Microsoft, about how we can unlock the data within that and how that we can improve the end user experience for our customers and for Microsoft internally. We're working with ISVs like Atero, for example, who are in the SMB MSP space, who have Azure OpenAI integrated into their service desk product so that they're essentially making suggestions to the service desk agent based on the details that are in the ticket. I think there are very obvious examples, and there are probably other scenarios which we perhaps haven't even thought of yet, touching back on unlocking that trove of data that sort of sits within our customer estates.
Steve or Simon, do you want to add anything? Or
no.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. And I suppose last follow-on question to that: which teams do you see would actually be responsible for doing the training and making it better, keeping it going?
Who wants to pick up that question before I give it to Steve?
Yeah. To my colleague Steve.
No, you go for it.
So, which teams will be responsible for training? I think we're going to see a lot of these roles retain their specialism, the first line service desk, but then gain additional skills in finding automation opportunities, candidates for automation, and then implementing that automation themselves. So training agents, finding workflows to solve common problems, that should become part of everybody's future skill set.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one. So it sounds like you've got quite a good moral compass with some of this stuff with regards to jobs and AI and the risks around that. Do you input to any forums outside of your silos into maybe to legislation or making sure that competitors don't come and do something that you're saying is immoral possibly, but they come along and do it differently? Is there any other forums outside of you guys that you're involved in, government or
anyone want to pick that up?
So I think from a responsible AI perspective, we've always had a commitment to responsible AI. I know that we're working with governments and also organisations which support that vision of responsible AI globally. I can point to our president, Brad Smith, who I would say is a thought leader around the responsible AI piece, and also when we think about our partnership with OpenAI, I personally see Sam Altman as being somebody who is really kind of taking that responsible AI piece very seriously in terms of making sure that we and our partners are having that dialogue with all the different countries, all the different organisations, and listening to our customers about how we go forward with this effectively, because it's not something we can just impose on everybody. It has to be something where we're making sure that we have strong buy-in from every segment of the world. Because when I think about our mission to empower every person, every organisation on the planet to achieve more, we have to include everybody in that. So we're not just talking to our enterprise customers and our strategic partners. We have to listen to segments of the population which are marginalised or perhaps don't have access to technology, so that we do things like removing bias from the data sets and the models that we have. and we make the technology more accessible to everybody to use. But it's a great question.
Really good. Anyone want to add?
Yeah, maybe just to add, in Atos, we have what we call the Atos Research Community, which is our innovation group, if you want, which is really focused on open innovation, so working with university, working with different forums. I'm not the good person to tell you exactly with whom in each country, maybe other people know, but we are definitely engaging, especially on the topic of responsible AI, because it is something that is behind everything we do. So yes, this is something we're doing as well.
I think your question touches on a sort of a nerve, because I suspect the world at large hasn't really grappled with this. In the UK government, I don't think we've got an answer. There's a number of customers here from different segments of private or public sector. But as a citizen, I don't get the sense that our society's really grabbed hold of this just yet. I don't know if you've got a thought.
Well, it just seems like you guys are the experts in this, so you should be pioneering that discussion on the thought, not waiting for others to try and catch up, and maybe be too late. With your experience in it, it's a good chance to get on the front foot.
Good feedback. Yeah, fair point. Any other questions? Sorry. You first, and then come to you. That's all right.
So I work for Atos. We've never needed, but I can confirm that we are actively engaged in those conversations. We signed up to UN Global Compact and lots of other things like the overall organisation and so on. So we can have a conversation with you afterwards about how we try and influence and make sure that we are not doing stuff that's benefiting society in the product they are.
Okay, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. One last question.
It's very much in line with what we are discussing at the moment. So McKinsey doing a number, 84 million jobs will be made redundant, 64 million will be created. Not everyone will be able to upskill themselves, so the gap will be bigger, and the social impact of it. Who's taking care of it, or what decisions are ongoing at that is that's kind of a key factor.
Yeah, very true. So that's not a question. That's just.
Absolutely, I mean, someone has to.
I'm just checking. Appreciate it. Very good. So I'm going to move us on to our final panel topic for the last 15 or so minutes. Nikki? You need to use the microphone. Can I take the microphone back?
Thank you very much. So I'm going to move us on to attracting and retaining talent. And I briefly touched upon it when we were doing our introduction, which is to say, for me, I hate losing power, but I've lost power of the selection of employees. They now pick us. Okay? And in a really tight labour market, that's becoming ever more important that we as a company and you as organisations, be it public or private sector, match the values of the individuals that want to work for us. And if we don't, we're going to lose out on that talent war, if you will. So there's a quote from Pedro Beidos of NextThink CEO, your man, saying, "Delight people at work. It is that simple. Companies must create strong digital experience that delight their employees." Would you be pleased to know there's no question? Very good. So it's well documented about hybrid working. We've touched upon it at length. We've talked about the adoption of automation and AI and what that does to everything from robotics, warehousing robotics, call centers, manufacturing plants, and so forth. We've talked about the seismic shift in home working. So my question, and maybe I'll come to Simon first, in light of hybrid working being the new norm, whatever you call hybrid working, how can we support organizations in managing and optimizing the digital workplace experience to meet this changing need?
Well, Nick, you spoke about these massive swings in power from the employee to the employer. 3 ways of working where you had to come to the office and then quick, you must work from home, the great resignation. And now I think in a high interest rates, lots of layoffs, the power's back with the employer and they're mandating, I need to see you in the office. But I think the problem is that mandate is a very blunt tool and it's not a tool for really engaging employees. Employers need to have an opinion about why they're asking people to come in. What are those moments that matter to come in? Is it about collaboration? Is it about innovation? Or is it about creating a moment of belonging for the employee? And if we're not intentional about why people should come in, we're always going to be fighting the work from office premium. There's an additional cost in time and energy and your day and your everything to come into the office. Is it going to be a better value proposition for the employee to come in or stay at home? I think mandates are too blunt, and I think employers have to catch up to that way of thinking about come in, because it'll be a better experience than staying at home.
Very good. Does anyone else want to comment on that? It's fine, you don't need to, Steve. You
can do if you want.
There we go.
So yeah, you know, when you look at the hybrid working and us being forced into that, it was a very difficult situation for a lot of organizations. You know, most people plan for 20% of a VPN mobility kind of thing, and suddenly overnight they were forced to 100%. That's why you never see any VPN salespeople in the wild. They're all on beaches drinking, you know, fancy drinks. But it was a great opportunity for Nexink, because understanding user experience is critical for are they even capable of working. But I think, as you were saying, you know, to bring people back to the office, you need to now understand, after several years of being forced to work from home, they improve their Wi-Fi, they're working, you know, the way that they work. To bring people back to the office now is very difficult, because actually the office Wi-Fi isn't as effective as their home Wi-Fi. Their broadband capabilities surpasses the network capability in an office. So you've really got to drive it around collaboration. You've got to give them another reason to come back to the office. And I think that's very important.
I can't even find a desk in my office, let alone
oh, there we
Wi-Fi.
go.
Does anyone in the audience want to comment in terms of how your organisations, public or private, are dealing with it?
Yeah, at BT we've tried to do things in support of the employees, getting them into forums before the new office was created in London. So we've done 2 together, 3 anywhere, to really try and sort of get that hybrid approach that's going to work for folks. But it's also when they come to the office, they want to have a brilliant experience. But actually the new office at Von Braun has been kitted out with all the latest technology to ensure that that experience connecting with people at home is perfect as well. So when they come in, they can have a really seamless experience. So we put a lot of thought into that hybrid working piece and trying to take employees on that journey rather than to dictate, essentially.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So I'm going to, can I steal the microphone back? Otherwise I get told off by Nikki.
I was given a quote by Ben, who was prepping me earlier. So I think it's something like CIPD, Chartered Institute of Personnel Development, say there's 8 days per annum where employees are now calling in sick and not going to work on average. Is that right? So therefore it begs the question, have we got the balance right? On the basis we've now already moved to hybrid working, there must be something wrong. We're still not doing something that needs to be done. So there's a disengaged or stressed population that is not coping with this new norm. And if I move us on to ESG, I'm really conscious that I think most of us, and I'm guilty of this, focus on the E in ESG more than anything else. We focus on the environmental, and we do a very good job of that with our partners. But I think we forget, in many cases, the S for social, and the social being social within ourselves, but social within the collective environment and society at large. And that's a critical part, I believe, personally, as to why employees pick us. So question for Guy, if I may. How can the digital workplace represent and facilitate the corporate values of an organisation?
Yeah, I think it's a really important point, to the point that was made earlier about employees choosing employers. I think that's absolutely correct. And, in the context of where we are today, there is a digital skills gap in the UK. We expect that there will be an additional 3 million roles created in the technology space over the next 5 years. So when it comes to employee retention and making sure that we kind of keep our workforce, we can't really afford to have attrition because of either the technology and the platform that the users are using, but also thinking about the ESG perspective and the employer's perspective on the employer's cultural and purpose. I think those decisions are increasingly value-driven. So from my own perspective, I'm a relatively new father of 2 girls, so I see flexibility as being high up in my list of priorities. I'm incredibly proud of the sustainability commitments that Microsoft have made, in terms of the ambitious commitments to our carbon negative, water positive, and waste free in 2030. But also, it makes me happy that we contribute back to society and things like volunteering as well. So we get 3 days of volunteering every year. I personally volunteer at a local code club, and it's things like that that really make me want to stay at Microsoft. And it's not just the employees that are driving those commitments. Increasingly, we're also seeing customers challenging Microsoft and challenging their vendors to make and stick to these commitments. And I was responding to an NHS tender this week, and making very, very specific demands about Microsoft and making sure that the project that is delivered contributes back to society, is carbon neutral, and supports equality in terms of who benefits from the program. So I think increasingly those two pressures are going to happen, and it's not just good for the world, but it's also good for business as well. I think we increasingly see that customers are making buying decisions based on those sort of value and purpose-led factors.
Guy, thank you. You mentioned, I think you started off by saying you don't do much coding, and then you mentioned coding 3 or 4 times in your answers. The last time I coded in anger, I took down a production mainframe. They don't let me do that anymore. They moved me up to management. So question for Steve, similar question. So from a data-driven perspective, what features or tooling do you deploy to actively listen and respond to user sentiment and needs in the workplace, and thereby contribute to retention?
So obviously, again, we understand the user experience because we collect all of that data around the issues that they're having and how we're resolving those issues. But without, we deliver a digital experience score, but you need to add sentiment into that score. So this is why we have our engage capability, which asks the right question to the right person at the right time based on context of what are they actually doing. But for a social side of ESG, you can really think about, I think our technology needs to go beyond IT departments, and it needs to be given to the likes of HR departments to really be able to communicate with users and understand what is their sentiment outside of just the device that they're using, but overall, to help you retain staff. And obviously with our data, there's so much more. I could go into environmental, but maybe you don't want me to do that. But there is a lot that we can do that I think, the employees today are expecting, their employer to think about the environment. And there is a lot of things that we can do. I definitely recommend that people talk to circular computing, because what they're doing with rebuilding devices is huge. And what we can do around decarbonization with this type of technology is endless. A lot of people truly don't understand that 80 to 85% of the total carbon footprint is when you build that device. So it doesn't matter if you run that device for 4 years, that's only 15% of the total carbon footprint. So, maintaining that device period is huge opportunity. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do with the data, a lot more that we can do with the data, and the way that we interact with users.
Very good. Steve, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask one final question. We're almost out of time. I'll then open up to the floor and then hand back to Ben. So one for you, Melanie. So reflecting on the rise of ESG, what do you think are the key choices and considerations for organizations as they reimagine the future of an ESG-friendly workplace?
Yeah. So I think you mentioned it's not just environmental, and it is also social. For us, the social impact is the social value is very important. I would say it starts by measuring what you can. I mean, if you make the parallel with environmental and green, a few years ago there was a lot of greenwashing. Everybody was putting lots of green stuff. Now European Union came, or maybe not in the UK, but we have a taxonomy from Europe to really define, okay, what is really green or not. But we have to do the same for anything with a social impact, really defining how do we measure the social impact of our services so that then we can report on the impact. And this is some things where we will be happy to discuss further with you. And then when it comes about the social impact itself, for us, it's really about with whom we are working so that we do have an impact on the community, an impact on the local social fabric. So typically, hiring vulnerable people. We talk about people with disabilities. We talk about veterans. We have some partnership already. We are, for some customers like Airbus, delivering all our onshore services with disabled people. And this is something that we want to do more and more. And still also talking a bit about the environmental side, because it's also, of course, key to it. Steve gave you one number, very important, 85%, but I want to see another number, which for me is also very important. In a modern IT environment, meaning if it's mainly cloud first, 74% of the emission are coming from end-user technology. So if you combined the ratio of what's coming from the workplace, the ratio of what's coming from the manufacturing, I think it gives you a good idea about what has to be done. What has to be done is to reduce the number of devices we use overall. And it means working with green providers at the beginning, but it means reducing what you need. So typically, looking really at the device lifecycle management. Today, analysts are saying 30% of the devices are lost by organization. I don't know if you're in this ratio. I hope you're below. But 30%, that's 30% of devices that we are manufacturing for nothing. If we then talk about the stock, sometimes because stocks are not properly managed, 20-25% additional devices we need to keep for the stock. So if you and we can help you, of course, implement a proper device lifecycle management, a proper supply chain for the devices, which is fully automated. It means you can have a major impact on these two numbers, so the lost devices and the stock. So reducing the number of devices per user and reducing the stock. So that's one element. Then, of course, the next element is going to be extending the lifetime of the device, working with the data from NextThink so that we don't just extend the lifetime, but really understand who is the user behind, how it's being used, but also working with circular computing to remanufacture the device, because ultimately, we talked a lot about experience today. We believe experience is key, and we cannot compromise experience and sustainability. So yes, we want to extend the lifetime of the device, but we do not want to impact the user experience. So we really have to make sure that the device that we're bringing to the end user are always performing. So that's really the key element that we are looking at, but we're going to talk a bit more in the next section about that.
So Melanie, thank you. Panel, thank you all very much. I'm going to hand back to Ben in a moment. So look, we're out of time, which is a bit frustrating, because I'd love to have opened up the floor. But as we trend towards our drinks break, I would love a bit of feedback. So to any one of the team, whether it's myself or the panel or Ben or Fred, tell us how you feel about today's event, good and the bad, right? So this is something we want to really excite you with and get you on board with, whether we work together or we work part of a network, two different things. So keen to get your feedback. So with that, Ben, I'm going to hand to you.
Thank you. That was a fascinating discussion. Quick round of applause for our panellists.